Yo, what's up guys? We're back. You know what we're going to do today? We've got PROAD. We're going to check out PROAD Envy. I did promise it. I didn't promise it, but I said it's very likely we're going to get the bottle. And we got the bottle. We got the bottle this week. I actually got it sooner than I thought I might. So basically, backstory to this. One of my guys said late last year, he said he's going to be in Thailand in February. At the time, had no idea about this scent, so I'll just bring me back some mystery for him. Maybe another bottle of the Odyssey, the other Jean-Christophe scent he did. Kind of stuck with that. Didn't hassle him. You know, I wasn't that fussed. I already had the scent, so I wasn't going to bother him. But then this came up, I think, like right at the end of the year. I saw some information about this one online. Very exciting. Obviously, PROAD is the more niche end of Myth. It's basically the same company as Myth. So Myth, for you guys who don't know about, there's sort of different lines. They have Myth. It's the sort of the basic line, the more the normal line. PROAD is sort of the next one up. There's quite a few popular PROAD scents actually. I think their cherry scent is quite sort of known about. And then they have Prawn, which is like a really higher end sort of side to it. I've tested a couple of them. They're nice, but I don't think they justify dramatically higher prices than the others. To be honest, Myth itself, just the base Myth line, with the likes of Mystery for Him and the Odyssey, the ones I own, and I've got another one called Horizon, which is the it's kind of afternoon swim-esque, very high quality. They're what I would call niche quality juices for basically designer money. So Myth, absolutely nailing it. We know about Mystery for Him. I did the review on Mystery for Him about a year before anyone really sort of caught on to how good that scent was. It did generate hype in the end. You'll find Mystery for Him is now very, very popular. It's a much bigger thing now than it was. So I'm happy that, that got recognition because it was a brilliant sort of spin on Aventus. But yeah, basically PROAD is the next lineup from Myth. So a little more expensive. Didn't really know what the price would be. As soon as I saw about this, I said to my guy who offered to get me something, he didn't guarantee it. He didn't know he was going to be able to get to the boutique, just that he was going to be in Thailand for a few weeks and he was going to be in Bangkok at some point. And I said, get me this, dude. Please get me this one. This one's going to be, looking at the notes, and we'll go over all of this. I just thought this could be really, really nice. In fact, it's like looking at the notes, looking at the Jean-Christophe did it. This is guaranteed. This is absolutely guaranteed that I'm going to like this. Basically, so we gave him that, and thank you very much to my dude. He knows who he is if he's watching this. He came through, he got me the bottle. He came back last week, mailed it to me straight away. So thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it. Anyone who helps me out with like unobtainable perfumes on my little sort of journey to sample all the things Jean-Christophe makes is always, I always owe them a debt. I did send him some stuff, and sort of, compensated for him for it, hopefully. So thank you very much, dude. Do appreciate it. It's actually the same guy who got me the original bottle of Mystery for Him. So he's really, he's really the reason I'm able to do these reviews and the reason I was able to, talk about Mystery for Him so early. So thank you very much, dude. Really appreciate the sort of assistance there. Otherwise, with this one, we were thinking about, maybe going through the American resale. I've got a guy in the States who comes back a couple of times a year who can bring me things from the States. I was maybe going to have to get it through him or just get a sample if I didn't fancy blind buying it. To be honest, this was blind buy, sort of like, looking at the notes and stuff. This was a blind buy for me. So we got the bottle through. I'm going to take you through the scent, take you through the presentation as well. Some pretty interesting stuff with the presentation for this one. So yeah, PROAD, here it is, PROAD Envy. So you get the black box, and it's in the 7 Sins collection. This is the whole theme of this line, is the 7 Sins. So it's all black, basically, the sort of the bottling, and there's some interesting stuff with the bottle as well. But basically, they're all black. There's 7 in the line, each around the 7, deadly sins. There's the sort of the tag for it. They all released, I think, a couple of weeks apart. So they had 7 perfumes, all done by master perfumers. The names that I can rattle out: Dominic Ropion, Khalees Becker, I think probably Olivier Cresp. Just just like the other Myth stuff that they've put out lately. It's a who's who of master perfumers. And guess who they saved for last? Because they said like I said, they released them like in stages, like one by one. Guess which one they waited for the final one? They saved the best till last, maybe. So I mean, I don't know because they haven't tried the other ones, but they saved Jean-Christophe's one for last. You just know that Myth love Jean-Christophe. They just absolutely love him. I guess because Mystery for him is their top seller, pretty much. But when they did the thing. In fact, he visited Thailand, and when they did the thing with a collage of all the perfumers that they kind of worked with, Jean-Christophe's just like bang in the middle, really big. It's just like him. He's the sort of daddy, really. So yeah, Myth must love working with him. I would love working with him if I was a brand, because he's this guy just a genius, basically. So we got PROAD, Envy in here. So the bottle. The box doesn't signify which one it is. I guess it's the same box for all the ones in the line. So I'll bust this up. I'll show you the bottle, spray. I'll give the impressions, and I've tried it a little bit. It's not a first impression. I tried it a little bit. Haven't really tried it a huge amount. So just bear that in mind. This is not an exhaustive sort of top to bottom thing, but I definitely give you enough. I feel that you'll get a feel for what it's about, and if you might like it. Potentially, if you're watching this video, you're already interested and you're probably going to like it. I did notice this like when I posted about this, it got a few more likes. Like not many, just like a handful, but compared to some of the other things I posted about, there was definitely some interest from some of my peeps who follow the channel on this. My guy in Thailand actually did say, because he obviously went to the boutique and bought it and tested it, he like messaged me on Facebook when he was there and said, "You're gonna like this. This is right up your street." He knows the kind of things I like. So I was like, okay, I'm getting more excited now. I'm getting even more excited than I was before. He said it was nice. He said it was very mass appealing, but I'm gonna like it. Couldn't ask for more than that. One of my guys who watches the channel, Alex, if you're out there, he just happened to be in Thailand as well over sort of February, I guess, and he got to test it as well, and he told me what he thought about it. It wasn't an absolute love for him, I don't think. He definitely liked the opening more than the later phases of the scent. But he was like, I don't know if he bought it in the end. I think he would have got a smaller size, but unfortunately these PROAD scents are only the one size. They don't do the small sort of 10 or 15. I think they've changed to 15 mil now. They don't do the small travel size for it. They don't do any bigger sizes. Basically what you're getting with the PROAD line, you're getting 60 mils here. Absolutely fine. That's a perfect amount most of the time. For a fragrance collector, you don't need 100 mils for every single scent unless it's just like the best thing ever. So we got the 60 mils here. Right, we'll give you the notes and then I'm going to open it and we'll get into it. So Envy. This is from PROAD's website. 7 Sins Collection, Vice President Perfumer Jean-Christophe Hérault. So they're bigging him up as the Vice President. They're not just saying, they're sort of giving him his proper title in IFF. So he's the Vice President Perfumer. Top notes: apple, mandarin, orange, and bergamot. So a great sounding top, specifically apple. Jean-Christophe is the king of apple notes, undisputed king of apple notes. It's not even close. I love all the scents he does with an apple note. Aventus is very, very, to my nose, Aventus is very leaning into the apple note. To me, it's almost the dominant note, I would say, in Aventus, the thing that connects the entire thing. So I love the way he does apple notes. If you like a Jean-Christophe apple note, Frostbite had the apple note as well, though it wasn't really a dominant apple note. But if you like his sort of interpretation of apple, which is very juicy and tangy, there's a couple of really budget scents that he does, which include a really nice apple that's somewhere near to the Aventus apple. Obviously, these scents aren't as high quality as Aventus, but ones that you might want to check out if you haven't looked at these scents: Coach Open Road. I don't think I've even mentioned that one yet. Coach Open Road, really nice apple. It's a bit more sort of soapy and lavendery in the dry down. It's a designer scent, but it's really pleasant, really nice scent. And the other one that I don't think I brought this one up either in the top 10 list, or I haven't mentioned it, but it's called Full Speed Electric by Avon. You might think Avon, that's like super cheapo sort of brand. That one's really nice for the money, and for the money, I mean, it's like here you could buy it for like £7-8 like the bottle. It's absolutely bargain bait, like super cheap. And low key, it's actually really nice. Like the dry down specifically, it leans very Aventus-y for me. The apple in it, the red apple note in that is probably the closest apple that I've smelt to the Aventus apple. So just bear that in mind. It's just something out there. It's a shower gel, sort of cheapy scent. But you can definitely, it's much better than the sort of budget scents he's done for David Beckham and stuff. It's actually rather pleasant, and I really like it. I could bring that one out for a video sometime, but if, just leave a comment if you're interested in any of those cheapo ones. But yeah, so the apple notes that he does are absolutely next level. Obviously, he hasn't really topped apple in Aventus. That's like his crowning sort of apple note, I would say. Just the sort of the way it's combined and associated with the pineapple and the, the sort of the different notes in that, the way it sort of works in that scent is just, stroke of genius, really. But yeah, so we got apple in this scent, basically. It's a top note, it's not a middle note, so it might not be such a persistent apple as Aventus apple. But just the fact that apple is there, I'm really excited. I got really excited when I saw these notes originally. So apple, mandarin orange, and bergamot. So mandarin orange is also going to be fruity. It's also going to give it a fruitiness. Middle notes, jasmine, mimosa. Now mimosa is not something I'm really that familiar with, to be honest. I had to Google that. Didn't really get it clear, but we'll go into that. But mimosa and violet leaves. Violet leaves, interesting. We haven't seen a Jean-Christophe scent that's done like apple and violet leaves in this sort of scent. We're going to presume it's going to be a bit sort of ambroxany as well. That's what I was told. My friend said it's mass appealing. It's, got an ambroxan sort of dry down. Violet leaves, apple. To be honest, I haven't seen him do a scent like that for over a decade. Like that's in that style. And that's a style that he did quite a bit earlier in his sort of career. He did that sort of perfume. He very much followed on from what Pierre Bourdon did with those sort of scents. Like if you look at Pierre Bourdon's sort of fresh designery scents, a lot of them he did violet and apple and fruity. It's his kind of style that Jean-Christophe sort of inherited with the violet and the apple and the sort of ozonic freshness, fruitiness. That's very much a Pierre Bourdon thing. So interesting because this is potentially going to be a high quality version of something like that. And the base, cedarwood, dry amber. What's that all about? Who knows? Patchouli, great, and animalic. It doesn't really specify what animalic means. Basically, all the scents in this line, the Seven Sins collection, they all have an animalic base note. I think they all have that. So that is the unifying sort of thing in this line, as well as obviously the theme of the sins. Maybe, Myth has said that, or, the sort of company, the brand, PROAD have said, we want something in there to sort of, to have a hook, to connect all the scents, give them an animalic sort of base note. Is this going to be a sort of an animalic note that makes it funky or dirty or any of that? Is it going to make it a little bit sort of dark and mysterious smelling? Question mark. Looking at the rest of the notes, like I said, I automatically get something in the Aventus ballpark here. It's got fruity notes, it's got apple, it's got florals. Basically apple, if you pick out the notes here, apple, jasmine, amber, patchouli, maybe animalic. If animalic, it goes more into the sort of muskiness. We've got a lot of Aventus type stuff here. Knowing Jean-Christophe style, we might have something that is sort of somewhat related to Aventus. That was why I got quite hyped for this scent. So we're going to find that out in a minute. Description. Leviathan, the demon of envy. Okay, so this line, like I said, it's about the sins, but the actual sort of bottles and presentation, marketing of it is quite sort of leaning towards this sort of demonic, dark sort of. One of the bottles has like a pentagram on it and stuff, and it's a bit like, maybe in Thailand it's a little more just because it's just a bit of fun and people sort of embrace that. But to be honest, that marketing, and a couple of people who I've showed this line to already said this to me, that this put them off immediately, like with the bottles and stuff, because it's like, maybe because of what's going on in the world. For those who know, there's things going on being exposed in the Western world at the moment that have been going on a long time, and we're talking about demons and things. it's a bit of a sore spot. It's, it's maybe not the most appropriate thing right now. If you know, you know. But anyway, this whole demonic sort of thing is like, we don't really want that. But Envy, thankfully, hasn't got pentagrams and things on the bottle. It's black, and, it's about envy, I guess. But yeah, the demon thing, we don't really want to associate with that. I'm not giving that any sort of fuel. I'm just saying that that's the marketing of it. So a little blurb here. Envy is the scent of desire, an emotion so deeply buried that one hesitates to even admit it exists. Leviathan is neither aggressive nor loud. It does not demand attention, yet it never allows the mind to rest. The demon does not rush. Instead, it slowly gnaws from within, giving rise to feelings that refuse to be named. The fragrance opens with fresh, juicy brightness of apple and mandarin orange. Friendly and luminous, it feels like a first smile, one that quietly conceals a yearning to possess, to become. Okay, before the wearer is even aware of it. At the heart, jasmine and mimosa unfold in soft velvety layers. These quietly captivating florals evoke a sense of fragility and sensitivity, gently drawing the wearer into unconscious comparison. As the scent dries down, its direction begins to shift. Cedarwood, patchouli, and aromatic notes introduce depth, weight, and inner turbulence. Damp earth, dry notes, and raw instinct emerge. This is the moment Leviathan truly reveals its nature. Dry amber offers no comfort, no warmth, only a parched, lingering heat beneath the skin. It's the accumulation of restrained emotion, pressure that never explodes, yet never fades. Okay, that's an interesting sort of context for the scent, a bit of a backstory to sort of how it's supposed to, I don't know if Jean-Christophe was given this and like how he, if he was interpreting this concept into the scent, or they made that around the scent after he just made the scent. If they just said make something and we'll, we're going to put it in this line, just make sure it's got an aromatic base note. Maybe he didn't get all of that to sort of build the scent in the brief. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But let's just forget all that sort of stuff and let's just look at what we're actually going to get. We're going to get a fragrance potentially. It says it opens very juicy and fresh. Great. It's going to be floral, and then it's going to dry down to something a little more sort of interesting maybe. It doesn't really seem that interesting, to be honest. It just says it's going to have some woods and some woods and some, what does it say? Parched, lingering heat. Maybe a really nice base. Like, low key, this could be kind of what we want in a new version of Aventus. Potentially. That's what the hope was. Especially if we get any muskiness and any sort of like smokiness. I don't really expect it to get smoky, but I'm going to be, I'm obviously curious about this base. Because if I was to like make a new version of Aventus, we wouldn't necessarily want Mystery for Hymns. Like, Mystery for Him is a sweeter. It uses the materials from Baccarat Rouge to give it sort of a caramel sweetness that sort of like is quite present in the dry down. This one's going to be a bit more woody and potentially a bit more interesting as it dries down. So there you go. There's a little intro to Envy. So we're going to open it up. There you go. And we got the inner box. It's actually a magnetic box. Check this out. There you go. Opens up. And then we've got little receipts here. These are the receipts. These are actually the receipts. My homie left the receipts in the box. So I got the price on the receipts. Just for reference, the price of this somewhere around, but this is not including obviously any, like costs involved with sourcing it and stuff. But the actual base price, if you should translate this price into like, my currency, somewhere around £75-ish. So that's not crazy. It's not as cheap as Myth. Myth is, I think, closer to 50. But it's not that much, really. It's like, it's on par with the designer scent here now, because designer scents have gone up a lot lately. So really, it's still, even though this is their premium, one of their premium lines, it's a niche line, it's still relatively designer priced if you compare it to what you'd find in the West. So we like that, basically. Like I said, it's a blind buy. It's still in a sort of acceptable price level to blind buy. So there you go. In the box, you've got these little cards. You've got the Seven Sins collection. I think this is a generic. Yeah, this is a generic one. So it's got Again, it's got some like demonic sort of thing on it. Tells you about the line. Sin. Yeah, it just says about. Yeah, it's, to be honest, it's a lot of just. It's just a lot of this. It's like, I don't really buy into this. Like, it's like I said, it's not my favourite marketing for Ascent. I'm not totally repulsed by it, but I could see why it would put some people off, to be honest, especially at this moment in history with what's going on. So yeah, and then and we've got Leviathan, which is the one that's, I don't know if this is supposed to be the one for envy. This is the demon of envy, and then a little thing on the back tells you the notes for the scent. Now, the price of the scent, they actually do a bottle that has an actual like sort of model, like this sort of like black dragon, which is like this particular thing, the Leviathan. They actually do a special edition of the presentation, which has this sort of model of the dragon sort of, you know, attached to the bottle. You can buy that. It's an extra like let's just say the scent was 80 quid, because my friend said it's about 80 quid, just so I knew, you know, what the sort of top end would be. And he said the one with the dragon was like 120. So an extra 40 quid for the dragon thing on the bottle. We don't really like, sort of, we're not really that keen on this particular marketing to begin with. He didn't get it. Like, he knew I wouldn't really like care about that, so he didn't get that. He just thought, just and I, to be honest, if I'd have had the choice, if he'd have said, do you want the dragon for 40 quid, I think he knew I'd have been like, fuck the dragon. But anyway, so we didn't get the dragon. But there is, just so you guys know, if you're really like interested in this line, each of the ones have a special edition, which has the actual like a model, sort of a black model of the sort of the demon or whatever that's on the bottle as well. So you can pick that up if you really, you like the sort of collecting, and you like to have the full presentation. But I just got the bottle, and it's a pretty basic bottle. We'll take it out. Here it is. It's got, I'll try and show it. It's not a very high, it's not the best sort of label, but you can kind of see it says PROAD, Envy, and it's got like a little like logo, which I'm not sure what that is. Is that Envy in Thai? I don't really know what that particular logo is, but there's the logo. It's got that on the bottle in sort of, it's all dark, and that's sort of slightly green sort of logo. Maybe it's the Thai symbol for envy. Like, I'm not really sure what that is. Yeah, so there you go. There's the bottle. It's a very plain bottle. It's totally plain. It's black. It doesn't have any stickers on it. It doesn't actually tell you the concentration on here, which is a little bit, because this is the premium line. I think they're supposed to be extracts, because the myth ones are EDPs. I think PROAD is extract. So the oil concentration is a little bit higher than myth. That might, again, it's probably not going to mean much, because I imagine the myth EDP is quite a strong EDP. They seem fairly like potent. So this one might be a little more sort of, it might be higher concentration, but I don't think that's really going to matter too much. And it doesn't tell you, so you don't know what the concentration is. But I just know from looking at the other PROAD ones that they were, the ones that told you said they were extracts. So we can presume that this might be an extract. All that's left now is to spray this thing. Tell you what I get. You know how we do it. I'll tell you what we get. Tell you if I like it. That's the most important thing. Do I like it? I can tell you all the things in the world about how, what you get and what it smells, but really, is it good? Is it an appealing scent? Is it enjoyable? Is it wearable? The things that really matter versus just facts about a perfume. We're not trying to be an encyclopedia. This is my take on it. So here we go. PROAD Envy. And the sprayer, we're not impressed by the sprayer, I'll tell you that for a fact. Like, the sprayers on these things put out the most minuscule amount of juice with the mist. So there we go. We got Envy on the hand, and it's off the top. It's banger. It's an absolute bang off the top. It's you get a lot of the florals coming through like immediately, but you definitely get a hit of that like juicy apple mandarin sort of thing off the top. It's very fruity smelling. I get this sort of candied apple off the top, which is absolutely delicious. It's beautiful. It's, you know, it's like I said, Jean-Christophe's the man with the apple notes. This is him again, just kind of like flossing with his sort of skills, really, because this is a beautiful apple. When I first sprayed this, the first thing I thought in my mind, I thought Pierre Bourdon. I just thought straight away Pierre Bourdon. I just thought this takes me immediately back to Pierre Bourdon's style of like I said, the ozonic, like fruity, fresh scents. It just immediately hit me with Pierre Bourdon. But you know, it's 2026. We got better materials potentially. This is certainly a better sort of a more expensive sort of version of that sort of scent. Smells super high quality. It's not a sort of 100%. That apple is not like a quote unquote realistic apple, because apple is very hard to sort of do in a sort of 100%, you know, realistic way, because it's not an actual note as such. They have to build that note around things that then conjure up, you know, the smell of an apple, because you can't get like the oil from an apple. It's not, you know, hasn't got its own sort of like thing you can extract from it. It's just components that, you know, go into fruits to create the different sort of fruity smells. So it's not the 100% the most natural apple, but it's gorgeous. It's really good. It's really nice. That opening, I'm going to spray it a bit more. Oh, that opening, guys. That opening is hitting you with that beautiful sort of like blast of apple. And yeah, the opening is really about the juicy apple, and there's a slight sort of sweet candy tone to it, but not in a sort of excessively synthetic or sugary way. It's very well balanced. It's a super nice smell. I love the smell. It gives me Aventus vibes off the top for sure. It doesn't smell like Aventus, but the sort of the style of it being sort of a high quality fruity apple in a scent that's got some depth. It's got florals immediately. It's absolutely beautiful. This opening, guys, is absolutely gorgeous. You know, it's a love really on the opening. I can't, you know, if you like this type of scent, if you like a fruity, fresh scent, I can't see many people disliking this. It's just very easy to like. Nothing weird about it. The animalic note isn't really sort of a thing at the moment. Like later on, we get a little bit of stuff that might, but it's like off the top, it's just pleasant, fruity, fresh, and quite sweet. Like I said, the apple gets a little bit candied. The mandarin is lending a bit more of a fruitiness to it as well. And then there's an interesting sort of floralness to it, which is it's a little bit like the Aventus stuff, but it's its own thing for sure. I'm going to skip straight into what we get later on because I have tested it. Basically, as the scent evolves on skin, this sweet candied apple that is very present at the opening starts to fade a little bit, and what comes through is quite interesting. It's definitely got an ambroxan sort of fizzy, like ambroxan vibe that you know it dries down into. Definitely a good amount of ambroxan there to sort of that's creating this sort of lovely sort of cloud of freshness in the scent. But some of the other tones that I get from this, I definitely get some of the violet leaves coming in. There's a distinctly green sort of thing that we get on the dry down. It's green. It's a little bit how I describe as maybe like cucumbery, because our violet leaves can have that quality. So the freshness in it, it's still fresh, but it definitely has that ozonic sort of cucumbery green violet leaf thing. That's a big part of it. That's really, I find that to be one of the more dominant notes in this. It's nothing you've not smelt before. If you smell, like I said, you smell other scents that have similar notes to this, the violet and the apple mainly. If you smell scents like that, this is very much in that style, but just updated for 2026. Really high quality sort of materials are evident, you know, in blending, as we expect. And that opening, guys, I swear that opening is just another, you know, it's another 10 out of 10 opening from Jean-Christophe. He doesn't miss with the openings. I love the opening. If it smelled like the opening all the way through, it would be like one of the best things ever. It's still really nice. But what I find on the dry down is that apple does sort of, and it is a top note, so it's understandable, but the apple does start to sort of fade, and we get more of that sort of green, violet, the violet leaves, the greenness to it. That comes through a bit more. Mimosa apparently has a green sort of aspect to it. When I googled mimosa, there was sort of a cucumbery sort of thing was mentioned. So the mimosa and the violet leaves are both kind of playing into that greenness that I get. But it's not super strong greenness. It's still super fresh. It's still super pleasant. The dry down, like the later dry down that we get from it, it's really nice. It's not animalic at all, really, to my nose, to be honest. But it's really nice. It's it's the ambroxan. There's definitely ambroxan. Definitely sort of a woodiness, and definitely this really pleasant sort of like, I wouldn't call it smoky, but it has this really nice sort of like borderline sort of charred wood sort of thing. They mentioned the parched sort of thing, the heat, the lingering heat. If there's anything in it that's giving you sort of that sort of, playing into the sort of how this line is meant to smell with the sort of, the sort of darkness, or if there's anything there that's sort of suggestive of that, it's in the base, it's in the deep dry down, and it's really not very present to my nose. It's sort of a component of the dry down, but it's not the most sort of, it's not the strongest part of it. The very late dry down, you get that kind of woodiness. It has a little bit of when you combine all the sort of aspects of it, the sort of the slightly sort of like sort of charred wood with the sort of the green violet leaves and the lingering apple. When you combine that all together, you get something a little bit like what you would get in a bottle of Aventus. And there was specifically earlier, it's like older batches basically, but somewhere around 2014 to 2016, if you had a batch of Aventus from those years and you left it for like 5 years plus, particularly if the bottle had been sprayed and stuff, if you left it for a while, you ended up getting this sort of licoricey note from it. I get a little bit of that in this, but this is not in that way that it's kind of gone off. This is a really fresh sort of thing. There's a little sort of licorice sort of twang to the way the woods come across, but it works really well here because it's sort of, it's sort of associated with the apple and the sort of the greenness from the violet leaves. That sort of like licorice woodiness in the base is really like, take away the ambroxan, that's the dominant sort of thing we're getting in the base here. And it's gorgeous, particularly in the opening where we're still getting some sweetness, like with the apple. It's absolutely like phenomenal. But even in the later dry down, we still get a little bit of that fruity tone. We get more of that sort of greenness, ambroxan, licorice woods coming in, but it's still really pleasant. It's very sort of softly musky. I would say if for people who like Aventus, and you're open to something that's in that style but doesn't obviously smell like Aventus, basically something that's a little more ozonic and green smelling, and if you know how violet leaf smells and apple, the violet apple sort of thing, if you know how those scents sort of smell, particularly the Pierre Bourdon ones, if you know how those smell and you like that, you're going to like this. It's that simple, really. And if you're just up for something new, that it's a little bit different, this is definitely worth checking out if you like Jean-Christophe style. I love it. I think it's really nice. I can wear this. I'm not going to say it's my favourite thing ever, my most favourite thing ever, because it's not, but I'm sure as hell glad I got it. Like, this is easily a successful blind buy to my nose. I really like the smell. I really like how fruity it is. I was a little bit question mark about the dry down because of the presence of the dry violet leaves becoming more. But then when I really sort of like drilled into what you get on the dry down, I actually started to really like it. Just because that sort of apple tone, it's still there. You can still pick it out. When you put it to your nose, it just smells really good. It smells appealing. In a similar way to how Aventus just smells straight up appealing. This smells very appealing. And I can totally see how it's an appropriate for, like, if you lived in Thailand, for example, this would be awesome. This very much gives me sort of like, the freshness in it. it does give me that sort of like the way the sort of the greenness is sort of playing in with the sort of ambroxan and the apple. That sort of green note that's in there. It definitely, I feel, would be good for exotic climates. Is what I'm saying. I'm saying it's for that market. It's a really nice scent. The only thing is the marketing is just way off for like how it actually smells. I have to like say that, and it's probably going to mean that most people won't have this on their radar. They might not even test it just because of that. If they really, if they're upset by that, they won't test it. But they might not even like find out about this line because it will just be something that's like doesn't really look like it's mass appealing. To be honest, like if you look at the bottles and if you look at the marketing, you just think, nah, this is something a bit strange, to be honest. But then when you look at the notes, and if you potentially if the animalic thing isn't going to be a big factor, and it's not in this at all, really, to be honest. If the animalic thing's not going to be a factor, what you've got here is a scent that's really nice. It's just, and it's really like the very, very start, it's pretty Aventus-y. Like if you can picture that sort of blast of apple that you get at the start of Aventus, and sometimes it does have a bit of a candy sort of quality to it. It's absolutely there with how the Aventus apple smells. It's just you don't get the sort of the birch and the sort of, you don't quite get the same sort of woodiness here. It's a bit more, like I said, there's a little more greenness to it, but it's really, really pleasant. And obviously no pineapple either, but it's really pleasant. I love apple. I love the note of apple. I love Jean-Christophe's versions of the note of apple. And this is on a sort of, because he's got a budget on this one. It's not Avon. It's not Coach. It's actually something where he's got a bit of a budget to put some better stuff in it. This one's absolutely killer for the way the apple comes through. I love it. And if you like Aventus, you're definitely going to like the opening of this. It's just the rest of the scent might be a bit of a question mark. Do you like violet leaves? Do you like something that's a little more green smelling? It's still super mass appealing. If you're into your apple notes, and this definitely has a green apple vibe. The Aventus apple is more red apple. It's most of the time it's mostly red apple. It's tangier. This apple is more of a candied green apple. For some reason, I always pick out apple when there's a scent that he does that has apple in it. That always seems to be what I get. He always seems to associate apple in a way where the apple I just managed to get the apple all the way through it. And then this one, it's pretty much what I get. But when it gets, like I said, when it gets much more into the dry down, you're going to get more woodiness, and you're going to get some greenness as well from the violet leaves, and a slight bit of this sort of charred wood effect, which is great. We like that. It's not sugary, it's not sweet, it's just straight up woody. It's definitely not sweet. I kind of like that over the mystery for him and the vetiver, the ones that have that caramel thing. I much prefer how this is in the dry down, to be honest, like the sort of the woody part of it. Definitely get that. And then a little bit of this sort of like licorice tone, which is just a result of all the notes sort of around the woodiness, sort of giving it a sort of a slightly syrupy sort of thing. But it's not a sort of a sugary syrupiness. It's more of a woody green appley syrupiness, if that makes sense. That's kind of where I'm at now with this. We're going to have to test it more. To be honest, I haven't given it full wearings. I've just done, test sprays, put it on skin, seen how it developed. First time I used it, loved the opening, thought the dry down wasn't as good. Second time I used it, loved the opening, and thought the dry down was actually much more pleasant than I originally gave it credit for. So we're going to have to give it full wearings, basically. The bottle puts out a pitiful amount of juice. It really does. Like, that's my main issue with the Myth presentation, if there is one, is that the bottles are, like, the atomizers aren't good. I know they're pressurized, but that doesn't mean they're good. It just means they're pressurized. But the juice that comes out is such a lot. I try and show. There's barely anything comes out when you do that. Ooh, a lovely smell. But yeah, barely anything comes out. I think they are aware of that. I think they're actually changing their presentation to be honest, quite soon. So we might end up getting bottles that have bigger atomizers, or just atomizers that can put out more juice, because the mist on this is just way too fine. Even if you want to, like, you know. So what I've actually done, I just decanted some into my normal sort of plastic things, and I'll just be, when I wear it, I'll just be using it out of this, to be honest. I'm not interested in using this atomizer too much, because it's just really light. And when I decanted into this is a 10ml, when I sprayed into this to decant it, it was an enormous amount of spraying to get 10 mils out. So that shows you that when you use this, you're really not using very much from the atomizer, unless you spray it like, you know, 20, 30 times sort of thing. So it's just, what I'm saying is that that is not like practical for the most part. I don't want to have to spray 20 times when I could spray 4 or 5 times and get the same amount of juice out of something like this. So just a little thing for the myth presentation. I'm not complaining about that in a major way, because I'm not one that obsesses about the bottles and stuff. I'm happy to just spray out a decant. You know, I'm interested in the juice, basically. You guys know that I don't really care for expensive bottles, you know, and sort of all of that stuff. I'm really interested in what the scent is. This is a beautiful scent. I do recommend people sample, not necessarily blind buy, just because it's not going to be for everybody. But if there's a niche of people out there that like appley, violet leaf kind of scents, that also like Aventus, that like Pierre Bourdon, that like Jean-Christophe, you might absolutely love this. I think it's really nice. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, gorgeous stuff. Unfortunately, again, it's like the obtainable, you know, it's not that obtainable. You've got to be in Thailand really to buy this. There's a site now in Europe. So if you're in Europe watching this, you can buy this from a site in Finland, I think. The price is not, you know, there's a bit of a markup, but I think you can sample it there as well. It's a good option if you're in Europe, but I think you have to be literally in Europe. You have to be in the EU to use that site. They won't deliver to the UK. So any of my UK guys, I'm afraid that's not an option. Otherwise, if you're in the USA, Glindy, well, you know all about Glindy. There's a really nice chap who owns that site, who gets all the stuff from Thailand very regularly. He's got it in stock. You can get samples from him as well. You can get a pack of samples. You can sample. To be honest, if Glindy was available here, I'd sample a bunch of these ones from this line, because some of them look really nice. But you can get Myth samples. You can get PROAD samples. He does all the samples for all of that stuff. So check out Glindy if you're in the USA and you're interested in this, because it's, you know, it's basically your place to get this from. They regularly have discount codes as well. You know, if you want to get a bit of a discount, wait for the next kind of time a code comes up. If you don't want to pay full whack for it. But it's definitely worth full whack. It's not like, you know, this is not, you know, if you compare this to another niche brand, it's still like designer-ish sort of price level. Maybe with the markup, it's a little more niche price level, but the quality is here. The scent is lovely. It's not the next Aventus by any stretch, but it's a far distant cousin of Aventus with the ghost of Pierre Bourdon as well. So that's where I'm at with this. Jean-Christophe, great stuff again. You're not going to find a huge audience for this potentially, but not everything's going to have a huge audience. But if you're after something that's very, like, you know, under the radar potentially, and you want a really nice apple note, this might be your hookup. UK guys, I'll just before we get off, I'll say UK guys, I can decant. So if you're in the UK, you want to sample this, just hit me up. You know, if you're one of the guys and sort of has my contacts and stuff, you can hit me up and I can do you like a little decant of this. I can't do that for many people because it's only a little bottle, but you know, I can supply some sort of sampling for people in the UK, and then obviously you'll know if you want to sort of source it from Thailand or whatever. I wasn't going to buy a box from Thailand just to get hold of this. It would have been one, like I said, I would have waited for my guy from the States to bring it, or I would have waited potentially for other Myth things to release, and then we order from Thailand. We get a box of stuff from Thailand. Yeah, I won't say any more about that, but maybe more Myth stuff is going to release in the near future. I keep hinting at this. All it is really is just, we're just hopeful, you know, we're hopeful that something's going to come along from Myth that we're going to like. Maybe sometime this year. Keep your eye out for that. But for now, this one's really beautiful. We like this. So yeah, PROAD Envy. That's my take on it. For you guys who are obsessed about performance, we're going to get people saying, how does it perform? What's the performance like? Performance is moderate. It's not that strong, to be honest. It does last a long time on skin because of the concentration. Projection is not that big. It doesn't project quite like a Ventus does. But I haven't sampled it. I haven't tested it with my actual proper atomizer yet. So I maybe it is quite strong. Maybe it does project a bit more than I think. But with the little sort of sprays from this, it's not all that strong. It does get more into a skin scent before, that long. It's going to last on skin, but it's just not a beast mode sort of thing. So don't go looking for this for a beast mode thing. You need to know, you need to really like the sound of how this is going to smell. Don't be like judging this on the performance because it's not strong. It's just like, it's dense and it's got a really nice depth, but it hasn't got an enormous projection. It hasn't got anything in there that makes it project, but the bass is quite substantial. Typical, really. That's kind of what I have to say about a lot of Jean-Christophe scents is that they've got depth, but they're not super dense a lot of the time. But they have the right amount of performance to where they have a nice evolution. This one does, the phases, and it starts with the candy apple, goes more into the florals, and then we've got more of the sort of combination of the florals, the green violet leaf with the woods. Kind of what we get with this. Really pleasant. Really, really nice. So that's my piece on Envy. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. First in the world to talk about it. Outside of... Well, there's one review of Fragrantica in Thai. So if you go on Fragrantica, you can hit translate and read the review. To be honest, the guy doesn't give too much insight into how this one smells. He just kind of goes along with what the blurb says and says you get this, and this. It didn't tell me what I was going to get from this, to be honest. My guy said you're going to like this. It's like, like a Ambroxan sort of scent. To be honest, that didn't really clue me in totally to what I got from it. Because like I said, I get quite a bit of the green violet leaf sort of vibe from it. But not excessively. So yeah, we really like Envy, but it's not, I'm not putting this above a lot of the other things that I love from him. I'm just saying that it's a nice addition to the collection. It's a nice update to that style of scent. We haven't seen a scent like this from him for a long, long time. So it's a nice little riff on that, that sort of, you could call it old school now because you don't really find scents that do the apple violet leaf thing very often anymore. Yeah, so good stuff. Well worth checking out. Yeah, that sort of leafy violet leaf. Yeah, it's kind of, I would describe that as sort of a bit leafy and cucumbery, I guess. I'm trying to give you an idea how it smells. Leafy and cucumbery with a really nice woods and a lingering green apple. That's really, the green apple at the top though, in the opening, is like, wow, this is like, you get some Aventus sort of stuff going on there. A little bit of if you like the opening to Aventus, you're very likely going to like the opening to this. You're going to find it to be a little bit similar, but with the caveat that it's only the opening where that's really sort of present. So that's Envy. Put that away. What have we got for you next? I don't really know at this point. There's things I'm looking at, things I want to get. There's a perfume called Out West AM by an Indonesian brand. Jean-Christophe made it. It's very inexpensive. It's only available in Indonesia, unfortunately. It sounds fantastic. It's like a ginger and lemon and leather, and it sounds like a really mass appealing sort of scent with a bit of a leathery vibe and some freshness. Sounds fantastic. I can't buy it. I can find it on eBay for a ridiculous price. Look, compared to the sort of the price in Indonesia. So I would love to get hold of that, but it's just not an option at the moment. If there's anyone out there watching the video who's in Asia, who travels around, who's also in the UK, for any reason, if anyone can help me with getting that Out West AM, I would really love to get hold of that. I don't know if there's any way for me to get hold of it, to be honest. I will inevitably get hold of it at some point, but for now, I'm not paying £100+ for something that basically the cost in Indonesia is really good. It's like not very much at all. It's only about 25-30 UK pounds for the bottle, so I can't justify, like including shipping, I can't justify like £120 for a bottle of that. That's just not the sort of markup I'd want to pay. I'd pay 60 or 70 probably, including delivery, but not double that basically. But yeah, if anyone can help with that, we'd love that. Otherwise, there's another scent on the radar. It's a Davidoff one. It's Cool Elixir here's one for you guys to look for. If you want to look for the same things I'm looking for. Cool Elixir Saffron Mineral is the scent. It comes in the red bottle, so they had the Cool Elixir in the blue bottle. Jean-Christophe did that. I haven't smelt that. Didn't really catch my eye. But the Saffron Mineral, we don't know the perfumer. Maybe it's Jean-Christophe. We're going to find that out. Might have to ask him about that one. It hasn't been fully released yet. It seems like you can get it in some duty frees. So we're waiting for that to hit the shops, hit the retail. If Jean-Christophe happened to have done that, I will probably be checking that one out next, because it's a very basic sort of note breakdown. It just has apple. It's going to have a nice apple if Jean-Christophe did it. It has apple, saffron, and cedarwood. Could be really good. It could be really, really good. I'm in the mood for some apple with this stuff. Saffron Mineral could be a banger. So we'll check out that, hopefully. If Jean-Christophe didn't make it, we won't check it out, basically. But if he did, we'll be on it, because it will be, we'll be able to sample it. I won't have to buy the bottle blind. There's a guy who always gets the designer releases that I can get decants from, so potentially I can just decant that, get the decant, and maybe check that out in the next month or two. Apart from that, like I said before, we're just waiting on the aromatics line to come out. We wait on the new biochar stuff, which could come this year, or should come this year. A couple of other things sort of we're looking at, but really we're chilling for now. We're chilling. We're good. This was the one, like I said, that we were sort of, that I was going to try and get because it's exclusive. No one else really talking about it, has talked about it. We got it. We like it. It's a little bit different, but in a nice way. So thanks for watching, guys. If you did watch all the video, and we'll see you on the next one.